Welcome to 1989. The Famicom is on top of the world. Okay, that PC engine's doing pretty well, but it's not like Sega's Mega Drive is going to go anywhere, right? Companies aren't doing as well as they were at the height of the boom, but that's because there's now so many competitors. 147 games were published in 1989, and they came from 53 different publishers. Nintendo themselves only released one Famicom game in 1989, and that's because they're gearing up for 2 new platforms, although one of them does wind up getting delayed a full year. The other big trend we're going to see is that now the Western market matters a lot. Action-adventure games with obscure secrets are still going to be around, but they're fading into the background rapidly. We're going to be seeing a lot more straight-up action games on the Famicom because that's what sells in the US. We're going to see some sequels to games from the boom era, including today's game. The split between the upper-tier publishers and the lower tier is just going to widen, as some companies still try to make Famicom games as though it was 1986, while others release some of the masterpieces of the 8-bit era. The start of 1989 is considered a dividing line for video games in Japan, though we'll talk about that in a couple of episodes when I reach the split. Other highlights of 1989? Namco locks themselves in as the most prolific Famicom publisher. We've got the end of the Family Trainer, finally. And we reached the halfway mark of this project. And we're kicking 1989 off with what's actually one of the more significant releases of the year. I think the first major problem with Ganbare Goemon 2 is visible immediately. There's no exclamation point in the title. The original Ganbare Goemon has an exclamation point. That game was Konami's big cartridge hit of 1986, and Ganbare Goemon 2 follows the formula laid down there very closely. You might notice the odd coloration of the box. That's because at the time, Konami was a bit enamored with foil boxes. They used one for Gradius 2 as well. But I also believe that those are the only 2 Konami games that use foil boxes. The story of this game is that Goemon has been captured and thrown into prison. He's in a cell with another thief named Ebisumaru, and Ebisumaru has heard of a treasure at a distant castle. So the 2 of them break out together and head to get that treasure. Goemon is based on Ishikawa Goemon, a Sengoku-era bandit who is known for robbing the rich and giving to the poor. Ebisumaru, on the other hand, is based on Etsunobu Ebisu, one of the programmers for Ganbare Goemon 2. Ebisumaru is the second player character, since Ganbare Goemon 2 introduces the ability for 2-player cooperative action. Also, in this game, and this game only, Ebisumaru is a woman. The ending of the game has Ebisumaru reveal her true form, but it's not really much of a surprise since Ebisumaru has to use the women's bath. The gameplay in Ganbare Goemon 2 is very similar to the original game. On 8 out of the 10 levels, your goal is to collect 3 passes so that you can exit through the gate at the end of the stage. You can freely wander around and explore the levels, and in this game they represent real-world Japanese locations. You'll even spot some famous landmarks from time to time. The passes that you require may be hidden in underground passages that are revealed by jumping over them, or they might be found in first-person mazes that you have to pay to enter. You can also purchase passes in shops, and you are required to do this occasionally in the game. As you explore, the B button attacks and the A button jumps. While there is some minor platforming, jumping is mainly used to dodge enemies and reveal hidden things. Jumping near a pot, for example, will make something pop out. If it's a cat, it'll change your weapon. The face will make you move a little bit faster, and the poop downgrades your weapon as though you've been hit. Goemon and Ebisumaru have different weapon progression. They both start out with a short-range poke, Goemon with a pipe, and Ebisumaru with a flute. That changes when they pick up a cat. Goemon's weapon turns into throwing coins, though unlike later games, this doesn't deplete your own funds. Ebisumaru, on the other hand, throws short-range bombs. Get a second cat, and Goemon's weapon turns into fireworks. He puts them on the ground, and then after a little while they start to move around a bit. It is significantly worse than his second stage weapon. Ebisumaru, on the other hand, has his fireworks turn into shuriken. They continue to alternate which weapon they're using as you pick up additional cats. The shops that you find as you explore will have many different things. Armor means that you won't take damage from a few hits, while hats protect you from things falling on you, like rocks or birds. There are some enemies that will pick you up and abduct you to a different point in the stage. Getting a talisman will stop them from hauling you off. The rice balls will refill you to full health if you ever run out. And the candle will give you a short period of time where hidden passages will be visible. There's also some dolls that will show you the path in the 3D mazes. The thing is, armor is so effective in this game, and the enemies are so ineffective, that I went unharmed from stage 2 to stage 8. It's just after I took a few hits, I'd go buy armor again. I did die a few times by falling off the stage, but that's its own thing. If you do need to recover health, there's 3 options. First, you can go to a restaurant and eat some food there. You can also find a hotel and stay in a room. You'll get your choice of quality, and that affects how much health you recover. And finally, you can go take a bath. You have to enter the correct side, men to the left, women to the right, or you'll take damage instead of healing. Unfortunately, in co-op mode, both Goemon and Ebisumaru have to go to the same side, so one of them will always take damage by going to the bath. There's 2 more shops you need to be aware of. One is a gambling hall where you have to guess high or low, and you can double your money. That can add up very quickly. The other shop sells Famicom carts. Buying those swaps some of the enemies out with characters from other games. A new addition for Ganbare Goemon 2 are vertically scrolling stages, and sometimes they treat this as a side view, so you'll have to scale a castle or a mountain. Another new addition are bosses. There aren't a whole lot of them in the game though. That's kind of a shame because this first boss is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the action in Ganbare Goemon 2 is not the best. There's some real issues with hit detection, and there aren't a whole lot of enemies out there. Enemies other than bosses always die in one hit, and there's not a lot of them on the screen. There is, however, an absolutely huge variety of enemies. And some of them are parodies, like this lone wolf and cub guy. Keep an eye out for the women though, you want to collect them rather than hit them. Even with the bad hitboxes, once you have armor and your full range attack, you can just keep that stuff forever. The difficulty in the game becomes trivial. However, Ganbare Goemon 2 is an extremely long game. I was following a guide so I wasn't walking in circles looking for the hidden rooms, and I had to stop playing at about an hour and 10 minutes when I was at level 8. And I hadn't really been challenged by the game. There's just no difficulty here. This is the end of the Ganbare Goemon action games on the Famicom. These are going to migrate to the Super Famicom, starting their numbering over again, and also being much better games. Goemon isn't done on the Famicom though. He's just going to switch to RPGs. As for this game, I think I like the original Ganbare Goemon better. There's a lot more here graphically, but the action feels like a big step backward, and they didn't correct any of the issues like requiring players to find invisible rooms to continue. It's nice that Ganbare Goemon 2 is packed with secrets, like this passage on the first stage that lets you skip everything and go straight to the boss. But requiring players to find those secrets is always annoying. Ganbare Goemon 2 isn't a bad game, it's just not nearly one of Konami's best.